Okay, and welcome back to the Space Engineers Beginners Guide. This is episode 2. Today's episode is not going to be as long as yesterday. I'm not going to cover quite as much in such a short period of time. We sort of went very rapid fire through basic movement and basic inventory toolbar controls. But today I thought I'd actually cover things like refineries, assemblers, arc furnaces, and the purpose behind them. Whilst they're not required in a creative game like we're currently playing here, once you get into a survival game, they are essential. They're the most important pieces that you need. That's how you take the raw minerals, ores that you find in the ground, and turn them into usable product. Now if we just quickly jump up here into the air, you notice we've built our starter little example base on this huge big dark stain. These dark stains, which occur everywhere, with the exception of asteroids, they occur on all planets. And if we come up higher, we can see there's another one over there, there's another one over there, another one over there, over there. These dark stains indicate ore or mineral deposits under the soil. It's a nice little giveaway, if you will, that Keen have included in the game, that you can visually see where there are actual ore deposits. You can't see what the ores are, but you can see that the locations that you need to focus your detection on. And once you build small scout ships or other ships, there's even one there, you can include an item on that called an ore detector, which when you fly over these areas here, they will actually show you specifically what ores are in that location, so you know what you're looking for. But for now, since we are sitting on an ore deposit, there is another little lower tech method of being able to see what sort of ores are here. We come right way down to ground level, and if we, let me just change our toolbars here, let's get rid of all of those, and as if we're in a survival game, let's bring our character creation tools in, character build tools. We've got our welder for welding blocks up, welding items up, our grinder for grinding them down, breaking them down into the individual components, and our hand drill, which is for mining ores. Now if you notice, we've currently changed to our hand drill, and instantly we've got these little white icons on the screen here. We've got ice, apparently 7.9 meters in this direction. Well, we're standing right on top of ice, so it's sort of a bit of a giveaway. But over here we see we've got silver, and if we walk towards that icon, the number is slowly going down, and look, there we go, and it shows me that at this point right here, 34.9 meters below the surface, we have a silver ore deposit. So I could drill down there and we could actually have a look at the silver, but what we need to actually find, I think, is some iron. Iron is the most rudimentary and basic material or resource that you will use. All of this is all built out of iron. All these steel plates rely on iron, so let's see if we can find some iron. We don't have an ore detector on a ship, but we do have our inbuilt suit ore detector. Well, probably more accurately, it's built into our drill, and by equipping our drill, we've activated the very small range ore detector that comes with that. So let's just fly over to this little stain here. Now you notice when you get close to the ground, you can't actually see the stain. You can only see it from height. Okay, we've got silicon, we've got nickel and magnesium. Still no iron. That's still no use to us. Let's see. Oh, that reminds me. You notice we can still just make it our base over there on the lake, but if we were to go over these mountains, it would make it very difficult for us to find our way back again. So what we're going to do is I just hit 0 just to clear my hands. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to stand right on top of my base. There we go. And I'm going to press K, which will bring up our tool, our terminal window, and we're going to go over to GPS coordinates. Now here, it lets you keep track of various locations in the game. In this case, we want to mark this exact location we're standing on. So we'll go new from our current position, and let's rename this as home base. And I want to always see where my home base is, so we'll hit always visible. Right, we can close that now. And now, as we fly away, you notice our blue icon to the right hand side of the screen there, it says home base. Well, that shows us exactly where our home base is at all times. We can be way up there, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200, 1,000 kilometers away, and we'll still see this location for home base. So we'll always be able to find our way back home. Now, GPS coordinates can be set anywhere. You can copy them and move them around. You can rename them. I like to just mark important things, like where I set up mines, for example, is a really good thing to add in as GPS locations. Lets you actually make your way back there. Now, okay, silicon and magnesium again. Pretty sure this is a different deposit. Okay. There's another one of our ore deposits. Let's try that one there. Magnesium is silicon. Again. What are we on? A silicon and magnesium world. Okay, another thing to be mindful of is you'll occasionally come across these stones. These generally are a type of ore deposit. Ah, look at this. This one happens to be an ironstone. So we can mine this stone. Once we get through the outer shell of actual stone, we'll get to the iron that's within. And I think that's what we'll do. So let's just make a note of this on our GPS. K again to bring up the terminal. GPS, new from position. Click on it, and we'll call this iron rock. Just so we know what it is. And we can come back. Now, there's two modes of operation for our drills. Left hand mouse button starts your drill, and that will actually generate ore deposit, or ore, yeah, I suppose you could call it ore nodules, or stone nodules, or whatever it happens to be drilling against at the time. For example, if we need stone, and stone is actually useful, you can actually refine stone into gravel. Gravel is useful for creating reactor components for nuclear reactors. So you do need some stone, not very much however, and you come across a lot of it, so you'll probably end up wanting to remove most of the stone before you can get to the actual ore resource. But if we were just to left click on this stone, it generates this nodule. We put our cursor on that, and as you can see, it says, come back here, press F, come back here. Oh, it's getting away from us. Press F to pick up stone. And it even tells us how much there is of that. So we'll hit F, we'll pick that up, we'll use a little bit of stone. That's the primary use for our drill. That is how we actually mine different ores and resources. We left click, it generates this little blob, if you will, and we pick it up. The other way of using a drill is just to bore, just to remove material without actually generating any usable ore or resource nodules or blobs. I don't know what you call them, stones, rocks, nodules. That is with your right hand mouse button. It looks exactly the same, but you watch what happens when we actually apply it against our stone here. It removes it. There is no nodules, there is no blobs, there is no ore. It just removes it. Bingo. And that is a very quick way of actually mining. To get past all the material you don't need to get to the material that you do, you use your right mouse button. And as you can see, our red here, just as a heads up, that is our iron. If we left click, we have a red nodule, we can pick up iron ore. Excellent. So we'll clear the stone, and we'll get to the iron. Now, the right click on your drill, it clears a much bigger area than the standard left click, so you can sacrifice some of your resource by using this method. That's a good way of clearing materials so that you don't have to generate lots and lots of little nodules of waste material that you're not going to use. As you can see, we've chopped quite a way into this. Still haven't seen any reasonable deposit of ore, but there's this little vein running through it. So let's just start picking up some of that. Now, F, as it said, F picks it up. Well, let's just catch up to that one. There we go. F is the key that used. F activates doors, it activates items, it picks up items. That's your main interaction key. I find a nice little trick when it comes to mining. You can press and hold F, and that way anything that comes to within range of your cursor will automatically get picked up, and you can do that whilst you're actually mining. That way you minimise the amount of runaways. Now it will pick up the raw stone as well, but we can actually remove that from our inventory later. Okay. I'm not going to try and catch up to it again. Now, like I said, this is not required for a creative game. This is what you'll need to do for a survival game. But it's fun to do in a creative game as well. It's just good to stay in practice. Come back here. Oh, whatever. Runaways, run away, run away. Just going to generate a whole stack. It's obviously all running downhill to a central point, so let's see where it's all going. Let's follow it, shall we? Oh, did we mark it? Iron rock, we made a marker for it. Made a GPS coordinate for it, so we can come back to it at any time. They didn't get very far. Now, also remember that in a creative game, you have got an unlimited inventory. We can pick up this whole planet. If we were to break it down into ore nodules, we could pick up this entire planet and hold it in our inventory, and would still be able to move as if we had nothing there. I wouldn't recommend trying to do that. The game might most likely have a little bit of an issue with that, but in theory you probably could. But I'm picking up the ore so that I can show the basic function of the next component I'm going to show you, which is the refineries and arc furnaces. Now, both the refineries and the arc furnaces work in a similar manner in that they take the basic ore and they convert it into usable ingots of relevant material. Iron would be iron ingots, which can then be moulded into steel, and so on. Now, an arc furnace is a specialised refinery. An arc furnace can only handle 3 different types of materials. It can handle iron ore, nickel and cobalt. They're the only 3 resources that can actually be refined through an arc furnace. An arc furnace by its nature is actually a little bit quicker than a refinery, but it is limited in that it can only handle those 3 resources. A refinery, however, can handle every type of resource you'll find, whether it be iron, nickel, cobalt, whether it be magnesium, silver, gold, platinum, uranium. It can handle the lot. Might be a little bit slower initially, but it's the mainstay of all of your refinery needs. When I say initially, is there are upgrade modules that you can add onto your refineries, which can speed them up, either speed them up, can increase the yield of materials that they can refine, or it can make them way more power efficient, or any combination thereof. There are 4 upgrade slots, which I'll point out to you shortly, and therefore you can mix and match the upgrades on your different refineries as your need arises. Now, we're going to expand our little platform here just so that we can put the refineries outside. They won't actually fit inside our one cell structure here. So let me just bring up a basic block, double click you and put you on the menu. We'll get rid of that and we will create a 3 by 5. No, we're not doing a 3. That's a 5 by 4, 5 by 5, 6, 5 by 7. We'll go 5 by 7 just so we can have a bit of room here. And let's bring up our refinery. That's these ones here: refinery, arc furnace, and assembler. These 3 items are speed module, U module, and power efficiency modules. They're the upgrades for either a refinery or an assembler. Arc furnaces don't get upgrades, but your assemblers, which manufacture products, your refineries, which refine products, they can actually take upgrade modules. But let's start with our refinery. It's a big 2 by 2 by 5. I believe it's by 5. In fact, we can check it against our building because we know it's a 5 by 5 building. Yep, 2 by 2 by 5. So it's quite a large item. If we turn it around and flip it up, these smaller squares you see underneath, they're our upgrade spots. Now, each of the upgrade modules takes 2 of those items, 2 consecutives, or 2 that are next to one another, whether it be horizontal or vertical. Choice is up to you. You can even use a combination thereof. But they are our upgrade modules. I find sometimes it's quite an advantage to actually put the whole refinery on its back, but that, see, it's got to be up against something to do so. It doesn't seem to want to do it just on its back, open forum. On its side is fine though. There we go. Let's just, well, actually no, let's just stand it on its head and take note of the big square about where the cursor is there, right there in the middle of the screen, the crosshairs. They are our conveyor boards. Now, conveyors are a nice convenient way of piping materials from one item to another, and pretty much every item, every block that you'll build has got a conveyor port on it, so it can be conveyed up. Allows you to move materials in and out of the different items. Now, just notice that we've got a person in the chat there, Assenbergers. Your game music sounds really weird. Well, it's the standard Keen Space Engineers music. As to why it sounds weird, I have no idea. It's being recorded and relayed direct on this live stream. Maybe it's because I've got it turned down at a lower level, I don't know. But yeah, it is just the standard game music. And welcome to chat, by the way. Now, let's just put there we go, let's just put our refinery in there. Now, the second item, as I mentioned, is an arc furnace. Now, I actually find the best place to put arc furnaces is attached to containers that are going to store the ores. That way they get resources, get dropped into the container, they get processed by the arc furnace straight away, and pretty much end up back in the container almost in one hit. So I'm just going to also put in a nice, let's go with a really large container. It's the biggest one here, and we'll put it up up against the wall will do. Oh no, let's put it against the wall properly. There we go. There. And yes, they're on the right line there, so it'll make it easier for us to connect them up. Okay. Now I'm going to attach an arc furnace to this side here, I think. Now if you have a look at the arc furnace, let me just bring it over here and bring it up close. We've got a large conveyor port on that side, If we turn it around, we've got one on that side, and that's it. We've just got those two connector ports. So we need to really determine where we're going to put it. I like to put them like pretty much like that, and if need be I can stack multiples all connected into one another. But for example, if we were to place it like that, then the arc furnace is non-functional. It's got no conveyor port to be able to get materials into and out of it. So let's just flip it around, move it up, there we go, let's plug it in there. Now to give you an idea of each, we'll just come here, we press F to activate our port, and well, the stone's not going to do anything, it's just going to sit there. The arc furnace can't use it, that's the only thing attached to the cargo container, so it's pretty useless, it's just going to sit there, can't do anything at all. The iron. Now, before I just drag it across into the container, there are two ways of moving items. I can left click and drag, and if I was to let that go there, the entire stack would get dumped into the container. The other option of course is to right click and drag, and when I let it go there, we get an additional dialog pop up which asks us how much we want to transfer. So we can actually say, no, I don't want to send it all, let's just send approximately half of it. There we go. And if we hit confirm, it drops into the container straight away. Whoop, and it's gone. Where did it go? Have a look at our arc furnace, and there it is, very, very quickly being processed by the attached arc furnace. It automatically drew the material, the resource that it can refine, straight into it. And there we go. We're left with 2.73k, 2,730 kilograms of iron ingots now sitting there in the arc furnace. So we want to transfer that back into our container. Now, a little difficult. There it is way down there. There's a container way up here. How can we drag it from one up to the other? It doesn't want to scroll. Well, we've got two sides here, if you notice, both with the same sort of icons. The character inventory, which is what I'm currently carrying, and we've got the connected inventories, which is the ships, stations, bases, etc. that we're currently accessing. We can actually switch either one. The character inventory shows us purely what we are connected to only. That shows us everything. This one, however, shows us what is in ourselves and everything else. So in this case we can change both of them to the same, come down to our arc furnace and left click and drag across back to the container. And now, there we go, large container, the only inventory we can talk to directly, and we've got all our refined product there. Now let's just flick around here to our refinery, find one of its access ports, there it is, and F to access that. Now we're going to left click and drag all of our stone, and instantly its resource is producing. And we'll do the same. Oh, actually no, we won't. Before we actually do that, we're going to introduce conveyors. Conveyors are the staple of any base or ship. Conveyors are your pipes. These pipe materials, resources from location to location, item to item, object to object. Now we've got our standard straight conveyor tube, we've got our angled 90-degree turn, or we've got a conveyor junction, which is a full 6-sided block which lets you plug up to 6 different conveyor pipes into this one junction. Now you don't have to tell anything where it needs to go, it will automatically know where it needs to go based on which conveyor or which objects are plugged into the conveyor junctions in your conveyor system. So for starters, we'll just go a single straight through block, we'll do an angle, and then we're going to put a junction down the bottom, that way we plug other things in. Now you'll know when you've got an active connection between active objects, whether it be an item or a junction, all these little lights on each element of the conveyor turn green. If we were to remove one of these items, you notice this one over here turns red. It means it's blocked or a non-complete conveyor. We cannot use that conveyor, it's offline. So let's just put our angle back in here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is, let's come back to our cargo container again. Now, I could just put the ore straight into the cargo container. And if we were to do that, let me just quickly set this up. Flick over to the arc furnace. If I was to do that, I'm going to put 1,000 in there actually. It's going to be a competition basically between the refinery and the arc furnace as to which one gets it first. Oh, and it looks like the refinery grabbed it first. But a lot of the times the arc furnace might actually grab it first. So what we want to do is we want to actually put this iron, we want to make sure it doesn't end up in our arc furnace. We want to put it directly into our refinery. Now, keeping in mind I'm connected to our container, large container. The item you're currently connected to is always first up on your list. Because we have got an active conveyor junction between the two, when I left click and drag this, you notice the refinery is still showing ballot. Reactor, however, is greyed out. We can't actually put anything in the reactor. See, that's showing as light grey or active, but when we're dragging resources in, it's showing as greyed out or dark grey. That means we can't actually access that item with the material we're currently dragging in. So it says uranium ingot, so it will only accept uranium ingots. That said, it would still be greyed out because we can't actually put anything in there. It's not connected into our conveyor system. Our refinery, however, is. We can dump our iron ore directly into our refinery, and away goes refining. Likewise, we can drag the items from the refining straight back into the large container, just like that. We can even do it whilst it's processing. There we go. And there, as you can see, we've now got nearly 5,000 kilograms of iron ingots, as well as a little bit of gravel that's refined stone. Now, the third item that you need for your production plant is an assembler. Now, an assembler takes those ingots, the refined product, and turns them into usable components that you can then use to build the various items. These are the items in here. You want to build a passenger seat. If you notice over the right hand side here, passenger seat for a large ship, large grid or station, it needs 20 construction components and 20 interior plates. Well, okay, how much does it take to build an interior plate? Well, both construction components and interior plates, I can tell you, make use of steel ingots, or sorry, iron ingots. Go away, there we go. That's these lovely items sitting in here. But we've got no way of turning those iron ingots into either construction components or interior plates at this stage. For that, we need an assembler. Now, assembler, we put in our toolbar down the bottom here is number 7. There it is there. Now, let's just have a look at this. We've got a large connector at the bottom, or at the top, take your pick, top and bottom, large connectors. On two sides, there we go, we've got a small connector on the right there, and a large combined with a small connector on the left. And if we have a look at directly opposite, we've got exactly the same, a large and a small connector. Whereas on the sides here, we've just got two small connector ports. Now, as I've mentioned before, for the refinery, the small connector ports are for upgrade modules. So we know for absolute certainty we can put upgrade modules on each side of our assembler. That side there, that side there. Looking at top and bottom, we've got two small ports there as well. We've also happened to have a large port at one end, so we could plug a conveyor into those large ports if need be, but if we want to, we can actually put an upgrade module on those two faces there as well, because we've got the two ports required. That's fabulous. And then we've got the large ports at each end for our conveyors. So if you plan things right, each assembler can have 4 upgrade modules, just exactly like our refinery over there. 4 different modules using 2 small ports each. Now I'm going to try and set that up so that we can do exactly that. And the easiest way to do that, well, let's just plug it straight into the side of... Oh, no, we don't want it like that. Let's put it like... There we go, not like that, like that. So we're plugging it into our big conveyor port. Will I put it there? Or will I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging here. Let's get rid of that, let's get rid of that. We're going to put our conveyor junction there one. We're going to put a 90-degree angle plugged into the refinery at the bottom there. A 90-degree plugged up to the top there. And that's where we're going to put our assembler. That way our assembler is attached directly to our refinery and directly attached to our cargo container, all through this one single conveyor point here. Now the advantage of doing it that way is it allows our assembler, there we go, it's all plugged in, and we've got a green on the conveyor junction, conveyor corner, but allows our assembler to pull its resources directly from this container. We do not actually have to have them loaded into the assembler itself. We can just have them all stored in the container, and as required it will draw them into itself and generate the materials and items you need. Okay, so let's have a look at the assembler. Let's come in here, hit F to connect to it. Assembler, oh, there's nothing in there. The icons indicate that's where you put ingots. These, just like your own inventory, is where you put items. So, how do we access our assembler? How do we tell it to actually start building stuff? Well, that's under our tab up the top here called production. We change to production, and now we can see these are the items we can build. The red ones mean we don't have the resources for them, or at least the assembler is unaware of whether we've got the resources for them. That can occur sometimes if the resources are in a container or a connected container, whereas it knows for a fact that we can build that. It uses iron ingots. We've got iron ingots, and the container is a very direct connection. Girders, iron ingots, large tubes, small tubes, interior plates, and steel plates are all iron ingots. Since we have iron ingots, the assembler knows we can build those items, but it doesn't know whether we've got nickel or cobalt, or whether we've got silver, or whether we've got magnesium. We may do. That may be in a different container that's attached via conveyor 1 or 2 containers away, but the assembler can't access them at this point in time, so it leaves them red, meaning I can't build those. So let's build something. Now before we do that, enable cooperative mode. That's for if you've got more than one assembler. You can have a primary assembler which is set exactly as is, disabled the line through it, and you can enable or turn the other assemblers into cooperative mode. So when you tell this assembler to build, say, 10 of an item, it will, if you've got 2 assemblers, it will split that amount in half. 5 will get built by this one, 5 will get built by the cooperating assembler. If you've got 10 assemblers and you tell it to build 10 items in the primary one, the main one here, it will assign 1 to each assembler. Well, for a small number it probably won't, but if you do 1,000, 100 or 1,000, then it will break it up across those 10 assemblers, and each will take 1/10 if they're set to cooperative mode. As for the other icon here, that is repeat mode. Now, repeat mode can be useful at times. I might want to produce multiples of a single item, but I don't know exactly how many I need. I'm using them so fast. So I can turn this on just by clicking it. We're in our repeat mode. If I click on one steel plate, it will build one, but guess what? It will actually start building. Look at that. 3. It just keeps building them. It's only doing them one at a time, however. Now, to stop it building an item, you right click on it in this production queue at the top here, which removes it from the queue. Now, I don't want enabled repeat mode at this point in time. That's not necessary. But as you can see, in our assembly inventory down here, we've now got 10 steel plates. Come back to inventories, in our assembler, there's our 10 steel plates. And we can take them, put them in our inventory, we can put them back into the assembler, whereas before we can change to the main grid's inventories, scroll down to our large container, and we can drag them from the assembler back into the main container. And they're now there for future use. Alright. Now I just realised that I can't actually do 4-sided upgrades on the assembly here because it would actually clash with the upgrades for the refinery. But I will cover them at a different stage. At this stage I just wanted to cover our methods of refining and production and storage, as well as how to find ores and how to mine them with our drill. So I think that's pretty much covered all of that, so I'm going to stop this particular beginner guide at that point. And before we get into a new topic, I hope you enjoyed learning about how to set up a basic refining process, storage, and how to basically mine. And I look forward to talking to you again in our next Space Engineers Beginners Guides. Thank you for watching.